Olá, pessoal. Olha, eu estou aqui hoje com um convidado especial, um colega do Conselho Internacional de Psicólogos, é o Doutor Andrew Simon. Ele está em Nova York e ele vai conversar com a gente um pouco sobre a sua experiência como psicólogo agora, nesse momento em que nós vivemos esse desafio da pandemia. Eu tenho certeza que, assim como é para mim, para você também vai ser muito importante compreender como que está a realidade em outros países, mas ouvindo da voz de pessoas que estão vivendo essa realidade em cada lugar. Principalmente se essas pessoas têm um olhar diferente sobre a realidade. Nós sabemos que Viktor Frankl, por exemplo, ele viveu no campo de concentração e ele pôde oferecer à humanidade uma contribuição inestimável. Por quê? Porque ele não apenas foi ali um prisioneiro no campo de concentração, mas pelo fato dele ter sido um psicólogo que estava vivenciando aquela situação. Hi, Andrew. How are you? Thanks for your time.
Oh, I'm very pleased to be here, Alison. Thanks for the invitation to do this.
Okay, Andrew, where are you? Are you in New York?
I'm located about a 30-minute drive west of Manhattan. So I'm in New Jersey, and we have a lot of connection with New York City, but I'm physically located just about a half-hour drive outside the city.
Do you have any colleague, anybody near you that is suffering from the COVID-19?
Well, you know that Jean,
Yes.
Jean, she's here in New York, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Like, so I have a lot of students, and some of them are sick. Um, Friends, I've known friends who are sick. A lot of people in this area have it. Thankfully, nobody in my family has it. Um, but I mean, we all know somebody now. If you're in this area, there's very few people who don't have some type of connection at this point.
Well, Andrew, I know you from the ICP, and I know you are a psychologist. We work together in many things. And please tell us about your career, your profession. What do you do there in New York?
I am a faculty member at Seton Hall University. So Seton Hall University is even closer to New York City than where I live. It's in South Orange, New Jersey. I'm a faculty member in the psychology department. And my area of specialization is social and organizational psychology. So I work with organizations, many of them international, on various issues. A lot of action research where I'm using research-based skills to help solve a very practical or applied problem. And that connects me really well with the International Council of Psychologists because the organization is committed to human rights and social justice. So, and as you know, I'm on the board as we share that role together. And I also oversee ICP's membership committee and their webinar committee.
And Andrew, being there in New York and with your experience, how are you dealing with this pandemia?
As most people know, New York has been hit really hard, and it's spilling over into the entire region. And it's been very challenging. So we are engaging in pretty strict physical isolation in the sense of, staying home, needing to work from home, having food delivered, going out as little as possible. We've had people that have been sick, and it's been very, painful having to cope with it and be separated from family members and the day-to-day challenges that are happening for everybody. As a university faculty member, I'm teaching all of my courses online, and there's a lot of preparation for the fall possibly having to occur online. It is a lot of what we're focusing on right now is getting ready for what will come next. One of the challenges that we're facing in the area is that there are still people who are not wanting to comply with the isolation protocol, and politically are taking sides with respect to whether this is really necessary, how should we engage, and so there's a tug. And we know as psychologists that people are not very good at understanding system-wide dynamics. People are not very good at seeing the effects or the impacts of things that are not right in front of our faces or that are hitting us at the moment. And that we're also not very good at appreciating dynamics that could have played out but don't. So a lot of discussion where, we get in front of the curve and fewer people are getting sick, and then more people pop up with questions about, was this even necessary? And look how much damage we've done to the economy. So that's a lot of the discussion that's going on around here, and I think throughout the United States. So in addition to kind of the personal challenge that we're all feeling of, navigating the day-to-day, there's the broader one, which is, can we get unified in engaging behaviors that will actually help us out?
Well, I think you touched the point that it is also a reality here in Brazil. This division, people are divided. Some of them are thinking that we shouldn't be in isolation because it hurts economy. And many people are losing their jobs as well, and many people are struggling with the economy. Well, what do you think?
I certainly have an opinion, like we all do. This isn't an area of expertise for me in any domain. I do feel very kind of biased towards the epidemiologists and the public health specialists.
Yeah.
And my understanding of our leading health experts in this domain is that if we push this, not only will it cost more lives, not only will it overtax our healthcare systems, but it will damage the economy anyway. So it's not as if I'm learning anything that tells me it's one or the other. These parts are interrelated. It's terrible that people are losing their jobs and that the economy is being damaged. I mean, there's just no question. Don't ever want to make it sound like I'm minimizing the impact of that. I'm just listening to the people who speak, who've seen pandemics before, people who are experts at how the social trends follow around these things, predictions about when we might see a vaccine and treatment protocols. So that's where I'm turning for my data. And from what I understand, they're still calling for pretty significant forms of isolation to make sure that we stay ahead of this.
It's very important what you're saying, and it can help many people, many of us, to understand it better and make our own decisions, because I think today, every father, every mother, everybody has to make their decisions about how to deal with these problems. And of course, we have to trust the specialists. And as you said, another thing that I think that is very interesting, Andrew, from the point of view of existentialism for our existence, when Viktor Frankl, he was a psychologist in the concentration camp, his experience was of great help after the war when he wrote his books, especially the Man's Search for Meaning. From your perspective, what is going on with humanity? Do you think this is an opportunity? How do you see it?
I would point to the same spot as you're pointing in terms of Frankl's work and teaching us about the value and the importance of purpose and seeing something that is meaningful for you, not only in the moment, but in your future life. And that I think one of the things that Frankl taught us is people are unbelievably resilient when they have that, and that not as resilient when we don't have that. And I think a big learning to take away that could from his work that can be applied to us today is it probably is not of the best service to us to be thinking if we need to get back to our lives before the pandemic, and more towards thinking about what are we heading towards that is meaningful to us, that we can make happen even now, even when we're dealing with this incredible challenge. How can we have an impact now? what feels purposeful and meaningful to us in this moment. And as the pandemic begins to let up and we seem to have more success in loosening the reins of us moving around, what do we feel purposeful about then as well? So I certainly don't mean to imply we won't be going back to school or work. I don't mean that, but it's also hard to imagine we're going to go back to everything exactly the way it was prior to this pandemic. Certainly we're learning more things, such as the way you and I are connecting right now so easily like this. There's no reason this kind of thing can't continue, even when we're not forced in this situation.
Do you think that the way we deal with our leaderships also can change the way we choose our leaders, the way we deal with their decisions? Do you think we can be more critical about this relationship? We can be more present in politics and other leadership organizations, for example, as the International Council of Psychologists and other international networks?
I certainly hope so. It's very, very hard to predict large social trends and large social movements. In hindsight, it's easy to tell the story, but a lot of us don't see what's coming next. We seem to know that from a lot of psychological research and, learning in other domains. I think part of the focus that is an opportunity for all of us is to engage in leadership acts, leadership behaviors from wherever we are, and not, exist in this sense that we always need top national, not top corporate leaders to initiate programs or policies. We don't need to wait for that stuff. There are things that we can do, and we do see people doing this right now in local communities, or as you're doing right now, pulling together people internationally, just taking the lead, using the technology that's available and making this stuff happen. I like to think of that as this is presenting an opportunity for more of that going forward.
Andrew, is there any other thing you would like to share? Do you think it's important? Please feel free to share with us.
The thing that keeps coming into my mind in the research that I do is that we really want to keep challenging our assumptions based on research that shows us there are certain things that we're quite weak at doing. We're not very good at seeing large trends until after they happen. We tend to have an experience which is like, if I don't feel sick and nobody in my immediate environment is sick, then this must be an exaggeration. That these kinds of things, we really do need to kind of actively challenge them and have some confidence in our experts, people who are specializing and guiding us in what we should be doing. That should be informing our actions.
Well, that's terrific. I think that is very important to say. One thing that we also notice that people idealize our potentials in the way that I remember listening to a lot of people saying, well, it has already been some months and they didn't discover the vaccine. Well, it's not that easy. We are not that powerful, right?
Yes,
so
right.
We have to understand our limitations.
That's right. And if I can even add another piece, that what we know about social systems is they're inseparable. We don't get to talk about the health system separate from the economy. We don't get to talk about illness separate from people going to work. That these things are entangled, and that some of the framing of the discussion today is putting it in an either-or domain. And it's very hard to look at it as if these things don't all go together. And there's an oversimplification that can occur. And when we look at the people who understand public health and epidemiology and understand the economic system, they'll be the first to say, if it was really simple and straightforward, everybody could make easy predictions about it. It is complicated, and we need to work with the real data we have in front of us.
Our notion about our international connection, I mean, the way we see the world as a community, because sometimes we are very separated in our own countries, and we think that we are alone in the world. And this pandemia also shows us that, well, it started in one country, in China, and then it is everywhere. We are together, we are learning from a lot of countries, we're learning from a lot of professionals in Italy, in Spain, in many countries. Should we also change the way we see the world? And wouldn't it be much better if we shared more information, if we cared more about how people are dealing with not just the pandemic, but with other things that we could grow as a society, as humankind?
Oh, I would vote in favor of that. What comes to my mind is, again, we tend to like the comfortable positions that a lot of us have, and that when we're talking about working collectively and collaboratively, that sounds great. And if someone says to me, but I need to change up what I'm doing and maybe forfeit some of the nice things that I have, wait a second, I'm not always sure I want to do that. So we're constantly up against kind of these broad-based ideas that would yield benefits. And what we know about people is that even the best of intentions can sometimes be challenging when we have to start taking action on it. So I'm all in favor of it. And, this is we're presented with a challenge at the moment that belongs to all of us globally. And we can be hopeful that we'll be successful with this, but that it will lead to other successes to follow.
Exactly. It's a challenge that we are just beginning, maybe for many of us, just beginning to think about. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Alison.